Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Albert Einstein here, a man who has, on occasion, puzzled over the mysteries of the universe. But today, I find myself facing an even bigger conundrum. What would happen if 8 billion people suddenly disappeared in the blink of an eye? No, this isn't the plot of the latest science fiction thriller. It's a scenario that requires some serious thought, well, maybe just a little less serious than usual. Now, let's get right to it. If all of humanity were to vanish in an instant poof, gone, our beloved cities would suddenly become the most inefficient ghost towns ever imagined. Think about it. Traffic lights, elevators, airplanes mid-flight, all just frozen, confused, doing their best to function without anyone to operate them. The world's transportation grid would collapse faster than I could explain quantum mechanics. And trust me, that's pretty fast. Let's take a quick jaunt through an airport, for example. Tens of thousands of planes would be left in midair, no pilots to guide them, no air traffic controllers to tell them where to go. A world of chaos, yes, but an oddly quiet kind of chaos. There's something strangely eerie about thousands of planes falling out of the sky, don't you think? And the cities. Oh, the cities. At first, the world would look like one big urban jungle. Imagine streets full of stalled cars, unmoving trains, and buses abandoned at every corner. Without the guiding hand of humanity, the once vibrant pulse of modern civilization would simply stop. Everything we've built, in the blink of an eye, becomes a vast, lifeless monument to our past mistakes. Or, shall we say, our past brilliance. Depends on your perspective. Of course, this is just the beginning. The immediate impact would be felt across every system we've come to rely on. No workers to keep the lights on, no engineers to fix the glitches, no first responders to handle the mess. And suddenly, our highly efficient, highly organized world becomes a big, dysfunctional machine that no one can fix. Ah, the wonders of human progress. But now, let's turn our attention to the natural world. With humans out of the picture, nature would get a chance to do what it's been trying to do for centuries: take over. No more highways, no more skyscrapers, no more perfectly manicured lawns. Just nature, doing its thing. And honestly, I think it would do so with a certain vengeance. First off, let's imagine what happens to those towering cities of steel and glass. Without anyone around to maintain them, the buildings would start to crumble. Roofs would cave in, windows would shatter, and before long, nature would start to creep in. A little vine here, a small shrub there, then, bam! Entire cities would become overrun with plants, trees, and vines. You'd have forests growing right where Wall Street used to be. Concrete jungles turned into real jungles. Sounds almost poetic, doesn't it? Wildlife would also begin its march into these newly reclaimed territories. Deer could be spotted grazing in downtown parks. Foxes might decide to make their homes in office buildings. And birds, well, they'd take back the skies, flying free with no one to bother them. In just a few years, the world would begin to resemble something from a post-apocalyptic movie, only without the apocalypse part. And let's not forget the oceans. With no one fishing them or polluting them, marine life would flourish. Coral reefs, once dying under the weight of human interference, would start to recover. The waters would clear up, and the fish would swim peacefully, without any of those pesky human-made nets in their way. So, in a sense, the planet would start to heal. Nature would move in, reclaim what was once its own, and do so with the kind of vigor that can only come when humans aren't around to mess it up. It's a little comforting, really. The Earth might just be better off without us, though. Of course, we wouldn't be around to notice, would we? Now, let's move on to something that most of us take for granted: electricity. Ah, yes, the sweet hum of power flowing through our homes, our cities, and our devices. We all rely on it, don't we? But, and here's the catch, without anyone to flip the switches or tend to the complex machinery, energy production would come to a screeching halt. And let me tell you, That would not be pretty. Power plants, those colossal machines that churn away day and night, feeding electricity into the grid, would all suddenly fall silent. Oil refineries stopped in their tracks. Nuclear plants? They might keep running for a while, but without anyone to manage them, they too would eventually be rendered useless. Imagine the entire global energy infrastructure just fizzling out. 1 second, everything's running like a well-oiled machine. The next, it's all gone. No flickering lights, no internet, no air conditioning, just complete, utter darkness. And the blackouts, they wouldn't be temporary. This would be the grand finale of all power failures. No maintenance crews to restart the turbines, no engineers to jumpstart the grids. The world's electrical systems would slowly grind to a halt, leaving us in a dark, quiet world. It's like going from a bustling metropolis to a ghost town overnight. The hum of civilization would be replaced by an eerie silence, a silence that might stretch on for months, if not longer. Of course, this wouldn't just affect the big power plants. Smaller energy sources, from solar to wind, would be rendered useless without anyone around to repair and maintain them. Imagine a solar farm full of panels, just sitting there, gathering dust, with no one to keep them clean or make sure they're generating power. Wind turbines would be left to rust, their blades spinning aimlessly in the wind, but producing nothing. In short, the world would quickly descend into a power-free zone. No more lights in the evening, no more Wi-Fi, no more refrigerators to keep your food fresh. The modern world we've built, connected, buzzing, glowing, would collapse under the weight of its own dependency on human maintenance. And in the end, we'd be left in the dark, both literally and figuratively. Now, let's talk about the economy, the thing most of us rely on for survival, or at least for the illusion of control. In the blink of an eye, without any warning, 8 billion people vanish, and the global markets, which run on the fine threads of human interaction, would crash faster than a stockbroker's retirement plan in a recession. Stock exchanges? Gone. Financial institutions? Stopped in their tracks. Every trading system, whether it's the New York Stock Exchange or some obscure digital marketplace in the middle of nowhere, would be dead in the water. Without anyone there to make the trades, maintain the flow of capital, or keep the systems up and running, the entire financial infrastructure would collapse almost instantly. Let's not forget supply chains, those invisible threads that connect every part of the world, from raw materials to the products sitting on store shelves. With no one around to manage them, those chains would snap. Transportation of goods would grind to a halt. Trucks, ships, and trains sitting idle, unable to move the food, electronics, or any other products humans rely on. Suddenly, your morning coffee, your favorite snack, your smartphone, none of it would be available. What's left would spoil, rot, or simply sit there, forgotten and abandoned. Now, this isn't just a little hiccup. This is a full-blown disaster. The world, which thrives on constant movement and exchange, would come to a standstill. Resources, once abundant, would become scarce. Without people to produce, distribute, and consume goods, economies would spiral into chaos. A simple shortage of basic essentials, food, clean water, medicine would be enough to make the collapse irreversible. And then there's the dark side of this economic freefall, the rampant hoarding of whatever resources remain. Imagine cities stripped of any useful materials, a scramble for what little is left, with no one to regulate it. In the end, what we're left with is an economic wasteland, where the things we once took for granted, comfort, convenience, and luxury, become nothing more than distant memories. So, yes, without us, the global economy wouldn't just take a hit, it would implode. And all the systems we've carefully built up over centuries, they would crumble under the weight of a sudden and irreversible collapse. Finally, Let's consider the long-term effects of humanity's absence. At first glance, it might seem like the Earth would be a better place without us, and in some ways, that might be true. Without the constant pressure of human activity, the planet would begin to slowly return to a more natural state. But let's be clear, it's not going to be some instant paradise. Buildings, roads, bridges, these human creations would start to crumble without the constant touch of maintenance. Concrete cracks, steel rusts, and the sharp edges of our civilization begin to soften. Cities would decay, and nature would begin to reclaim what was once lost to urban sprawl. Plants would push through cracked sidewalks, trees would take root in abandoned skyscrapers, and vines would wrap themselves around statues of long-forgotten leaders. The world would turn into a wild, untamed landscape once more. But here's where it gets interesting. As human infrastructure deteriorates, the environment would slowly start to heal. Climate change, of course, wouldn't disappear overnight. It's a long-term process, and the damage we've done to the atmosphere won't just vanish with our sudden exit. But without industries pumping out carbon emissions every second, the planet might begin to stabilize. Air quality would improve, waters would slowly clear, and the ozone layer might start to repair itself, bit by bit. The absence of human activity would also give ecosystems a chance to bounce back. Species driven to the brink of extinction might make a comeback, and once thriving habitats could begin to regenerate. The world would become a much quieter place. No more planes flying overhead, no more cars rushing through the streets, no more factories humming day and night. Just the sounds of the wind, the rain, and nature slowly returning to its former glory. But let's not kid ourselves. The scars we've left on the planet are deep. While nature might try to repair itself, it would take centuries, even millennia, to undo the damage we've done. So, yes, in the long run, the Earth might be better off, but don't expect it to be a smooth ride. Nature always bounces back, but it has a way of doing so in its own time, without much regard for how convenient it is for us. In the end, the Earth would return to what it was always meant to be: wild, unpredictable, and dare I say, a little bit free of our human touch. So, if you're curious about what the planet looks like without us and want to explore more mysteries of the future, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exciting episodes. Leave your thoughts in the comments, share this video with your friends, and hit the bell to stay updated on all new videos. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll just be part of history, and Earth will write its own story without us. See you soon.